Okay, so just imagine a school where suspensions are they're basically non-existent.
Wow.
And the kids actually want to talk about their problems.
Okay.
It sounds kind of impossible, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
But it's actually happening right now
Really?
in El Monte, California.
Interesting.
And it's all thanks to this thing called restorative justice.
Restorative justice.
Mhm.
Yeah, you've got a bunch of info there about this really cool partnership, actually,
Yeah.
between the AAA ICDR Foundation
Yeah.
and the Western Justice Center. So they're basically teaming up to bring these peace building skills
Right into the classroom.
right into El Monte classrooms. Yeah.
I love this. And it might sound, at first it might sound kind of formal.
Yeah.
But trust me, this whole deep dive is about building these strong relationships and tackling conflict like head on.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating about this is that we're seeing a real shift in how schools are approaching conflict.
Yeah.
Instead of just punishing the wrongdoers,
Mm-hmm.
restorative justice, it's really trying to repair the harm and rebuild connections within the community.
So instead of just detentions and suspensions, we're
Right.
talking about like having real conversations with these kids.
Yeah, real conversation.
Figuring out how to like fix things.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's about understanding the why behind someone's actions.
Mhm.
And that's where the Western Justice Center's approach is really unique.
Okay, well, let's unpack that approach.
Okay.
I'm really curious about how they're making this happen, like on the ground.
So they're focusing on three main things:
Okay.
peer mediation, restorative justice circles, and then comprehensive support for both the students and the staff.
I'm really intrigued by these restorative circles.
Yeah.
What exactly are those?
So they're basically these structured conversations
Mm.
where everyone who was affected by a conflict, they all come together to talk it out. So the student who maybe acted out, the students who were impacted by that, even the teachers, everyone has a chance to share their perspective.
That sounds really powerful.
Yeah,
But wouldn't that be like super time consuming?
it can be.
How do schools even like make time for this?
Well, it definitely takes a commitment.
Yeah.
But the results are really worth it.
Yeah.
These conversations, they help students understand how their actions impacted other people.
Mm-hmm.
And they all kind of come up with ways to make things right.
And traditional discipline, it often focuses on like shame
Shame.
and isolation.
Yeah.
But restorative justice, it like flips the script.
Totally.
It taps into like our human need to connect and belong.
Yeah, that's a great point. When we feel seen and heard, even after we've caused some harm,
Yeah.
it's incredibly motivating to want to make things right.
And this isn't just a one-time fix, right?
Yeah, definitely.
This is an ongoing thing.
The Western Justice Center, they're working with these El Monte schools, for the long haul.
Oh, wow.
The goal is to really empower those schools to sustain these practices
Oh, that's cool.
on their own, even after the initial 5 years of the program are over.
I know the Western Justice Center, they really emphasize this importance of building trust
Trust, yeah.
within the school community.
Yeah, it's essential.
Okay, but trust is kind of an abstract idea.
Yeah.
How do they actually build trust in these schools?
Well, it's about creating a space where everyone feels safe and respected and heard.
Okay.
So it means teachers listening to students' concerns, students respecting each other,
Yeah.
and the administration fostering this culture of open communication.
I imagine this is especially important in El Monte,
Oh, absolutely.
where you have these deeper issues
Right.
of poverty and racism and gentrification. It's adding another layer of complexity.
Right. And all of those systemic challenges can create tension and conflict
Yeah.
within schools. So by fostering this culture of trust, the Western Justice Center is helping to address those underlying issues
Okay.
and create a more equitable learning environment.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It shows how something as simple as feeling heard, feeling
Yeah.
respected
Absolutely.
can have a huge impact.
A huge impact.
But are they seeing any tangible results from this?
Oh, absolutely.
Are there numbers?
Yeah, the results have been really positive.
Okay.
So schools implementing restorative justice are seeing a decrease in conflicts, improved attendance, and a pretty significant drop in disciplinary action.
Wow, that's huge.
It is.
They're even seeing an increase in teacher job satisfaction.
Yeah, happier teachers.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
Happier teachers too?
it makes sense,
Yeah,
right?
I guess, yeah.
when teachers feel equipped to handle conflict effectively and build positive relationships with their students,
Yeah.
it creates a much more enjoyable and fulfilling work environment.
No, there's a story from El Monte's Opportunity Program.
Right.
This is the program that serves at-risk middle school students that really highlights this. And it involves pancakes.
It does, pancakes. So one student was struggling with anger management.
Okay.
And instead of resorting to like the traditional punishment, the staff, they decided to try a restorative circle
Okay.
to understand what was going on.
So they brought everyone together,
Everyone.
the student, their classmates, the teachers,
Right.
to talk about what happened.
Exactly. They created this really safe space for vulnerability.
Uh-huh.
And it turned out that this student's family, they were experiencing homelessness,
Oh, wow.
which was leading to all these feelings of fear and hunger for this student.
Wow. It's amazing how just listening
Yeah.
and understanding can uncover such complex issues.
Absolutely.
Like you wouldn't think that that's what's going on.
Right. And it highlights how restorative justice isn't just about resolving these conflicts.
Yeah.
It's about building stronger relationships.
Yeah.
So, they knew that the student loved pancakes.
Okay.
So the teachers, they turned it into this positive learning experience.
Oh, that's cool.
They all learned how to make pancakes from scratch.
Really?
And they've shared a meal together.
What a great example of like finding connection instead of punishment.
Right.
I love it. So we've been focusing on El Monte,
Yeah.
but what about beyond those schools?
Yeah.
Are there ways other people can like get involved in this?
Absolutely. So the Western Justice Center, they host this annual peer mediation invitational,
Okay.
which brings together student mediators from all over Southern California.
That sounds incredible.
It is.
Do they need volunteers?
They do. If this is something you'd be interested in, becoming a mediation mentor for that event is a fantastic way to contribute.
Okay.
You get to work with these students who are passionate about peace building
Yeah.
and help them develop their conflict resolution skills.
I love it.
Yeah. This is all really inspiring. But we kind of need to acknowledge that restorative justice,
Yeah.
it isn't like a magic bullet.
Right.
It's not something you can just like sprinkle on a school and expect all the problems to just disappear.
Right.
There are some potential downsides and challenges that we need to be aware of.
Okay, I'm listening.
What kind of challenges are we talking about?
Yeah.
Well, one of the biggest challenges is ensuring proper implementation.
Okay. Yeah.
It requires a significant shift in mindset and school culture.
Yeah.
It's not just about like learning a new set of techniques. It's about embracing a fundamentally different way of approaching conflict.
So you can't just hand teachers a manual and say,
Right.
go forth and be restorative.
Exactly.
Right.
It takes time and commitment
Yeah.
and an ongoing training for both the staff and the students to really grasp the principles of restorative justice
Yeah.
and put them into practice.
Right.
And even then there will be bumps along the way.
Yeah, of course.
Oh.
I imagine resource constraints could also be a challenge.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Implementing something like this,
Yeah.
it must require a pretty significant investment.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Adequate funding is crucial. Schools, they need resources for training,
Yeah. Yeah.
support materials,
Yeah.
and potentially even hiring additional staff
Right.
to help implement the program effectively.
This all sounds great, but
Okay.
I'm a bit worried
Okay.
about the potential for things to go wrong.
I see.
Like, for example, in cases of like serious harm,
Right.
wouldn't bringing everyone together
Yeah.
in a circle potentially re-traumatize victims?
That's a really valid concern.
Yeah.
That's why having skilled facilitators is so crucial.
Okay.
They need to be trained to recognize signs of distress and know how to respond appropriately.
Yeah.
They need to be able to create a safe and supportive environment
Right.
where everyone feels comfortable sharing their experiences.
So it's not just about good intentions.
Right.
It's about
It's about expertise.
expertise.
Yeah.
Are there any other potential drawbacks we should be thinking about?
Yeah, we also need to be really mindful of power imbalances.
Okay.
In a school setting,
Yeah.
there are these inherent power dynamics
Right.
between the students and the teachers,
Mm-hmm.
and between different groups of students
Oh, totally.
themselves.
Yeah, right. The whole popular kids versus everyone else
Exactly.
dynamic.
Yeah, and restorative justice needs to be implemented in a way that acknowledges those
Yeah.
power imbalances and addresses them.
Okay.
Otherwise, it risks perpetuating those existing inequalities.
So it's about creating a space
Yeah.
where everyone's voice
Everyone,
is truly valued
absolutely
and respected.
respected regardless of their.
Social standing or
Yeah, it's about leveling the playing field
right.
and ensuring that everyone feels empowered to participate fully and authentically.
All this talk about potential downsides
Yeah.
makes me wonder what's the magic formula
That's a great question.
when restorative justice does work?
Right.
What makes it so successful?
Well, one of the key ingredients is buy-in
Okay.
from everyone.
Buy-in from everyone.
Involves students, teachers, administrators, parents.
Wow. That's a lot of people.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be on board and understand the goals of restorative justice.
So it's like a team effort. Everyone needs to be like rowing in the same direction for
Exactly.
this to work.
And that requires clear communication,
Yeah.
collaboration,
Uh-huh.
and a willingness to embrace these new ways of thinking and doing.
Right.
And it also requires ongoing training and professional development.
Of course.
Because this isn't something you can just like learn from a book.
Right. It's a complex process
It is.
that requires ongoing learning and refinement.
Absolutely.
What else contributes to successful implementation?
Data collection and evaluation are also essential.
Data.
I mean,
Yeah.
we need to track outcomes and measure the impact of these programs to know what's working, what's not,
Right.
and make adjustments as needed.
The power of data.
Yes.
I love it.
It helps us move beyond anecdotal evidence
Right.
and see the real impact.
This is making me rethink how I deal with conflict.
Interesting.
It's not just something to be avoided or
Mhm.
suppressed.
No.
It's actually an opportunity for growth.
I love that.
But how do you apply this to, say, like a family argument?
Right. Yeah.
That feels way more like personal.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Restorative justice isn't just about schools.
Okay.
It's a set of principles
Right.
that can be applied to any conflict,
Okay.
whether it's at work, at home,
Uh-huh.
or in our communities.
So it's about
It's about shifting our perspective on conflict,
yeah.
seeing it not as something to be feared,
Okay.
but as a chance to learn, grow, and build those stronger relationships.
That's such a powerful way to look at it.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've explored the mechanics of restorative justice.
We have
The challenges.
the challenges.
The keys to
Yeah.
success. No, I'm curious about the bigger picture.
Go ahead.
What does the growing popularity of restorative justice
Yeah.
say about our current society?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think it reflects a growing recognition
What?
that our traditional punitive approaches to conflict
Mm-hmm.
are often ineffective and in some cases
Yeah.
even harmful.
Right.
People they're searching for alternatives,
Right.
for something that focuses on healing and reconciliation.
So it's like a shift from
Punishment to understanding.
to understanding.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about acknowledging that simply punishing individuals,
Yeah.
it often doesn't address the root cause of the problem.
It's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone,
Ooh, I love that. Yeah.
It might cover it up,
Right.
but it doesn't actually fix it.
I love that analogy.
Mm.
Restorative justice, it offers a more holistic approach.
Okay.
It recognizes that we're all interconnected.
And it seeks to repair harm in a way that benefits everyone involved.
Right.
And it's not just a feel-good approach.
Okay.
There's a growing body of research
Really?
that supports its effectiveness
So it's not just touchy-feely.
Right.
It's actually backed by
by evidence.
evidence. Cool.
Yeah.
This deep dive has been incredibly eye-opening.
Glad to hear it.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the future of this movement.
Yeah.
Where do you see it going?
Well, I think we're at a tipping point.
Okay.
I think we're going to see restorative justice principles and practices being applied in increasingly diverse settings.
Like what?
Well, it's already being used in criminal justice,
Mhm.
workplaces,
Wow.
and even in international conflict resolution.
Really?
Yeah, and as more research emerges,
Uh-huh.
I think it will become even more widely adopted.
So it's not just about changing schools. It's about changing the way we approach conflict as a society.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's about creating a more just, equitable, and compassionate world.
I love it.
And that starts with each of us.
Okay, before we get carried away with all the possibilities, let's shift gears and talk about how our listeners can actually apply these principles in their own lives.
Absolutely.
We've covered a lot of ground,
We have.
but I think it's important to end with some practical takeaways.
I agree.
Okay, so we've been talking about all these big picture ideas,
Mm.
but how do we like actually bring restorative justice into our daily lives, you
Yeah.
know? It's one thing to talk about changing schools and,
Mhm.
and changing society, but what about changing ourselves?
Yeah, it really starts with shifting our mindset.
Okay.
You know, you have to be willing to see conflict as an opportunity for growth and understanding
Okay.
rather than something to just be avoided or won.
That makes sense. But what does that look like in practice? Like
Okay.
let's say I'm in a conflict with a coworker
Right.
or a family member.
Right.
What's my first step?
Your first step is active listening.
Active listening. Okay.
Yeah, really try to hear and understand the other person's perspective,
Okay.
even if you don't agree with it.
So putting aside my own like judgments and defensiveness and
Emily.
really trying to like step into their shoes.
Exactly.
So-
Ask open-ended questions.
Uh-huh.
Pay attention to their body language,
Yeah.
their tone of voice,
Okay.
and acknowledge their feelings.
Okay.
Let them know that you're truly trying to understand where they're coming from.
That can be so hard.
It is.
Especially when like emotions are running high. It's easy to just get caught up in your own side of the story.
Absolutely. But remember the goal.
Yeah.
The goal isn't to win an argument
Right.
or prove who's right and who's wrong.
Yeah.
It's about finding a solution that works for everyone involved.
So once you've both kind of had a chance to air your grievances
Yeah.
and feel heard,
Right.
where do you go from there? How do you actually like move towards resolution?
That's when you start brainstorming solutions together.
Okay.
This is where the creativity comes in.
Okay.
And the collaboration.
So it becomes a joint problem-solving session.
Exactly.
Rather than like a battle of wills.
Exactly. And when you're coming up with solutions,
Yeah.
it's important to focus on repairing the harm that was done
Oh.
and rebuilding the relationship.
So it's not just about like finding a quick fix.
No.
It's about finding a solution that leads to
Yeah.
genuine healing and understanding. You know, I can imagine some folks might be skeptical though.
Yeah.
They might think that restorative justice is too soft,
Okay.
or that it lets people off the hook
Right.
too easily.
That's a common misconception.
Okay.
Restorative justice is not about avoiding accountability.
Okay.
In fact, it often leads to a deeper sense of accountability
Yeah.
because it requires individuals to acknowledge the impact of their actions
Right.
and take responsibility for repairing the harm they've caused.
So it's not about punishment,
No.
but about taking ownership.
Right. And that can be far more powerful and transformative than simply handing down a consequence.
Okay, but let's say you're dealing with a situation where one person is clearly in the wrong.
Right.
How does restorative justice handle those kinds of conflicts?
Even in those situations,
Okay.
the focus is still on understanding.
Okay.
You know, what were the motivations behind that harmful behavior?
Uh-huh.
What are the underlying causes of the conflict?
Okay.
Instead of just labeling someone as the bad guy,
Yeah.
we try to understand the context of the situation.
So it's about addressing the root of the problem.
Yes.
Not just the symptoms.
Yeah.
It's like we've been saying
Yeah.
throughout this whole deep dive.
Absolutely.
Restorative justice is about shifting our perspective on conflict.
Good.
It's about seeing conflict not as something to be feared,
Right.
but as an opportunity for growth and transformation.
Exactly. And that's a powerful idea.
Yeah.
That can be applied to so many aspects of our lives.
This deep dive has honestly given me so much to think about.
I'm glad.
Not just about schools or about society,
Right.
but about how I approach conflict in my own life.
That's what we were hoping for.
Yeah.
You know, we want listeners to walk away from this feeling empowered
Yeah.
to approach conflict in a more constructive
Yeah.
and compassionate way.
We've explored the principles of restorative justice.
Well, yeah.
They've looked at the challenges,
The
potential pitfalls,
pitfall.
and we've even talked about how to apply these ideas in our own lives.
In our own lives, yeah.
We've learned about this incredible work being done in El Monte schools.
Absolutely.
And we've glimpsed the potential of this movement to transform not just schools, but communities and even our entire society.
Our whole society, yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into restorative justice, I hope you're feeling inspired to be a part of the change.
Yeah, to see conflict not as a threat,
Yeah.
but as a chance to build a more understanding and compassionate world.
And remember, building a more peaceful world, it starts with each of us.
It does.
Yeah.